I'll tell you where I left off. That
Okay.
when he was after 13 years in the Yochai, he came out. After 12 years, he came out. He couldn't understand why people were working. Explain. So the heavenly voice came and said, "You came to destroy my world. Go back into the cave." When he came out of the cave, he realized it was a punishment, because he looked at other people in a negative fashion. But he couldn't understand why people should be engaged in trivial work, which took away their time and didn't reach the high level. So he recognized he's got to do something. When he came out after the year, which he regarded as punishment, he came out, and then he decided, since it was a miracle the way he survived, and the teaching was, you can't just think about yourself, you've got to do things for the community. What a proof, modern proof, Yaakov Avinu did the same. After his struggle with the Sarah Shel Esav, Yaakov Avinu came to Shechem and he helped the city to become more established. He did things for the wider public. So Shimon also said, I've got to do the same. So he thought one of the things he could do in looking after the area where he came out, he said, let's go up to now. He said, I've got to do like Yaakov Avinu did. So Shimon, he said to the communal leaders of the area in which he came out, probably up in the Galil, he said, is there anything that needs improvement for the public situation of the Jewish community? So they said to him, yes. There are many areas here where Kohanim, because there might be graves underneath, lots of graves after all the persecutions also. So you've got to know, some places it's clear that there are graves around, that people are buried. Other places it's a doubt. And therefore it's very difficult for the Kohanim to try to keep, at those times, keep all the laws. Even on today, the Kohen should not walk over a grave. There's a hidden grave under the earth. So it's a question. So what did he do? It's difficult for the Kohanim to keep going from long distances in order to avoid treading over ground where there's graves right underneath. So Shimon made first declaration. Is there someone in this whole area who knows that there's a ches katara, that means this is a place that has been known for some generations, or at least for some years, to be a place which is cleared of graves? A certain old person came to him, yes. Rabbi Yochai, who was a few generations before, he was the great Rav at the time of the destruction of Beit HaMikdash, and they were talking about the time of the Hadrianic persecutions, which was 100 years later. But he said, I remember here in this very place, Rabbi Yochai used to cut lupines of Truma. In other words, he did it specifically to declare this area to be tahor. Because he was a Kohen himself, and if he would cut lupines for truma, means he's going to eat them, eat the fruit thereof. and also demonstrate to others this place is fine. So Rabbi Shimon said, I'm going to do the same. He traversed the whole area, and everywhere that the ground was very hard, which indicates there's no graves underneath, he pronounced it as tahor. And where it was soft, he marked it off as tameh. So then, as a result of this, the Kohanim were able to travel through the area, for they just avoided all those locations where there's a mark of tameh. And this is you understand today as well. That there's some streets near the old city where it even says this place is not suitable for Kohanim.
Really?
Yeah. Kohanim should have to take another route. But you know, the wide open roads where there's no chashash, no fear, but somebody's going to do excavations, then they have to make up a notice. They found excavations, they find bones underneath. I think some of the bones may be Jewish graves. They put up a notice. Kohanim must take a different route and not go over these places. But what happened was that the same old person who informed him of what had happened in the previous generation by the Yochai, he said, Ben Yochai has made a cemetery tahor. He declared certain places to be tahor. So Shimon ben Yochai said to him like this, when you were with us at the beginning, when I asked the leaders if anybody knows, and you told me about what Rabbi Yochai ben Zakkai did, if you would have said something then, you can't rely on this, I would have recognized that what you declared to me was not reliable, in your opinion. And even if you would have been nearby, but you wouldn't have been amongst those who agreed that the best course of action for me to take is to use the same symbol, other words of making a sign that this is tahor, by means of cutting loopholes with truma, which could be considered tahor, nothing tameh here. Then, if you wouldn't have said anything then, fine, I wouldn't have taken notice of you. But now that you're arguing what I'm doing, you're one of the older, wise people here, then what will people say? That even harlots braid one another's hair. It means they still have an aspect of unity. Talmidei Chacham l'kol sheken. Now say here we have two great leaders. Shimon ben Yochai came out now from isolation from the cave, but he was recognized by people as one of the great Gedolim. And this older person was much older than him also, and he said he was regarded as a leader. He had traditions from the time of Yochai ben Zakkai. So they'll say, Talmidei Chachamim, they don't respect one another. And he comes out with such a statement. So then Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, he set his eyes upon him, and he perished. Because, in other words, Shimon was on a very high level, and this criticism of him, this also regarding other people, Talmid Chacham, he started saying something sarcastic about him, that when Ben Yochai came out of his cave, he went into a graveyard and said, this is tahor. Talmidei Chachamim should never argue with one another. Today also avoid very much any critical remarks made by one Talmid against another one. And we know in our time how this is so important. When you start arguing with one another in a negative fashion, it's serious. So Shimon went to the marketplace. After he'd done this communal purification, he went. The marketplace at those times, they were the place of communication where people went to notify and sell, do business. And people could buy goods for the personal needs, also for their different professions. As we know, the Galil was the center for this, the marketplaces where they met. And there he saw Yehuda ben Geda. So, Yehuda ben Geda is mentioned in the beginning of this episode when many say that he was really already quite a teacher of Torah. And Rabbi Yehuda, who was called Rosh HaMedabrim, they had discussion about how to regard the Roman government's control of Judea. That time the Roman government controlled everything. And they made decrees also that shouldn't be teach Torah in public. Sometimes they suspected that there was a movement to remove them, and as there definitely was with regard to Rabbi Akiva himself. He taught Torah in public, although the Romans said it's forbidden. And as a result of that, he endangered his own life, Rabbi Akiva. In the end, he was massacred. He was tortured to death. Also, I'm sure you know that Rabbi Akiva even thought Bar Kokhba was the Mashiach, or the potential Mashiach. It supported him. And Bar Kokhba, he rebelled against the evil decrees of Hadrian, so he initiated the Hadrianic persecutions, in the course of which Beitar, the history of Beitar, was destroyed. And as many of you know, the scripture also was in Josephus and also in Midrashim concerning what happened in Matzara. So this was Matzara was later, but still this was, Beitar was the time of Rabbi Akiva. So there was a discussion that Rabbi Yehuda said the Romans were on good things. They built roads, they built bathhouses, they built marketplaces. They've introduced a bit of law and order into this country. He praised them. Rabbi Yochai, at the beginning of this description, he was silent, didn't want to join in. And then came Rabbi Yehuda ben Geda, who was present. And Shimon ben Yochai said very risky remarks. He said they only build roads in order to make big charges. Anyone who wanted to use their roads or their bridges, they would tax the people enormously. They didn't want to walk through. Just to take as much money as possible from the Jews. The bathhouses, also the same thing. They do it for their own sake. They don't want it for their own use. And they put idols there sometimes, as they did. We know they did in the bathhouses. And they have they built the marketplaces so that it would be easier for the prostitutes to increase immorality in the country. So when Yehuda Megadim was there, according to one interpretation, he didn't really mean bad. He just wanted to, he told what happened in this discussion to his family. And they were present there also, proselytes and even non-Jews. So that way it got to the Roman government. They found out, so they said, Shimon Yochai, he has to be executed. And his son was with him always, so together with his son, they should be executed. And Rabbi Yehuda can remain, he'll be the spokesman for the Jewish people. And Rabbi Yossi was silent. We would not allow him to come anywhere near the political centers of the country, not to Jerusalem, not to Caesarea, where the Romans are. We can only allow him to stay in the northern Galilee, where they permitted the Jews to develop a little bit their own lifestyle. But now at the end of all this episode, it says that Shimon Yochai went to the marketplace, and there he saw Yehuda Megadim. And Yehuda Megadim was the one who got this discussion, even as it were, to the Roman government. In fact, today as well, but the question is, there was a leak, They thought it was a closed discussion between them. They didn't then have to record things, no tape recorders, on their mobile phones to record what's going on, discussion. But Yehuda Megadim, he told his family. So it would appear that, according to this, what it says here at the end of the episode, when Shimon Yochai saw Yehuda Megadim, through whom the decree came, and this brought the 13 years of such deprivation of Shimon Yochai and his son. So he said to him, Adayin yesh lazeh ba'olam? Is this person still in the world? So Nathan Be'inav, he set his eyes upon him, and he turned him into a heap of bones. Now, Rashi understands that when Yehuda Megadim repeated Shimon's words, his intent was not malicious. Some others assert though, Yehuda Megadim was not a sage at all, a malevolent person who had reported it. But Shimon's word directed the Roman authorities, seeking to harm him. So, and on this phrase, he turned him into a heap of bones, most of the commentators say that in truth, people whom he looked at in a negative fashion through his critical look was enough to kill them. Others say to faint. They become, as it were, speechless. And that when we analyze the different commentators on Galchel Atzamot in Masech Brachot, in the last chapter, so there we dealt with this question. And so some of the commentators say that it doesn't mean they got killed. But it does mean that they're very shocked. The shock itself made them feel like the heap of bones. But from this Gemara it would appear, it's more literal. So I think in order to understand this whole episode, and also to understand quite a few things concerning Rabbi Akiva. We already spoke about Rabbi Akiva entering the Pardes when he was young. He was not only a great master of halakha, and he was the main lead transmitter of the Torah Sheba'al Peh. As we see from many sources, Pirkei and many other sources. And we also know that the Gemara, which describes Rabbi Akiva's disciples, they did not give honor to one another. And we can understand why we spoke about this, they died from the plague of diphtheria, couldn't speak anymore because Lashon Hara. For them not to give honor was a Chilul Hashem through speech, not speaking in a nice way to people, even if it's that they never agree to one another with Shalom Aleichem or Baruch Haba. They did not give kavod. For them, that was Chilul Hashem. You have to treat human beings to respect them. And above all, we know Rabbi Akiva's whole life was V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. God loved his fellow human beings in a very strong manner, especially in Torah matters. So they didn't fulfill this. As a result, they died. So, but when he came to Rabbi Akiva himself, I suppose he was one who constantly taught people, even if you are a mystic, like he wasn't the Pardes, although not so much is recorded directly in Rabbi Akiva. There is mentioned in many early Kabbalistic works. But it does not mean to say that you can look negatively at those who are involved with work. We always spoke of machlokas between Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Shimon Yochai, Shimon. Rabbi Shimon's shitta is that you've got to concern yourself with the learning Torah and not so much with agriculture or other needs, provide for food. If Am Yisrael would follow this method, Hashem would make sure that they will get support in different ways. There's the Psukim, even straight other people, not Jews, will do the work, and the Jews can dedicate themselves to learning. But the Gemara's conclusion on that is that's for individuals, it's not for the general public. And Rabbi Akiva seems to want to demonstrate the same, that all his life he was very much concerned with the whole nation. That explains his active participation in trying to help Bar Kokhba to battle against the cruel regime of Hadrian and others. So, to understand all this relationship better, I'm giving you here, please take a copy, a few small remarks, which are small in words, but very deep in understanding from Rabbi Tzadok HaKohen. And it says, Lag BaOmer, it's in the middle of the second column, Lag BaOmer, is called the Hilula, the festive anniversary of the Day of Death of Shimon Yochai. That was the day on which he died. So you can ask the following question, first of all. And perhaps should ask it even more so today, when Lag BaOmer has become the day attended by the largest number of people ever to go and celebrate the death of a saint. Although there is a general tradition amongst the Jewish people that the day of the death of a saintly person is a fast day, not a feast day. And look, Shimon has become the biggest feast day for the largest number of Jews in one place in the world. So this is the question. Question is, let's say Moshe Rabbeinu, the greatest of all the prophets, the day of his death, the 7th of Adar, you know, is a day of fasting. Until today, the Chevra Kadisha, who deal with burial of every community, they make a fast day on the 7th of Adar, the day of death of Moshe Rabbeinu. They make a Sion, and at the Sion they eat, but in principle, it's a fast day. They break the fast with the Sion. And Chodesh Av, which is the anniversary of the death of Aaron HaKohen. And what is it? On Chodesh you're not really allowed to fast, generally, but you are allowed to fast on the death of Aaron HaKohen. As it's brought in Shulchan Aruch also. You can fast it. So let's try to understand what this means. So Lag BaOmer is a contradiction to all this. By the way, I want to say something which is not so well known, but it's extremely revealing to understand Lag BaOmer. People think Lag BaOmer started as a special day with the death of Shimon Yochai. But it was there, it's there in the Chumash. If you look at the Chumash carefully, when the people complained to Moshe and Aaron, you've got no food or drink here in the desert, we're going to die, in Parshas Beshalach. That was on, it says even when it was it says in the Chumash. It was the 15th of year. That's when they complained. And then Hashem said to Moshe, I'm going to bring the quails for tonight, they'll have meat, and I'm going to bring them on in the morning in 3 days' time. When they first they suffered and played for 3 days, but at the end of 3 days, you'll see. That's what's going to happen. If you make a reckoning, also all the psukim that deal with the quails when they came on the 18th of year. The night and the morning, the whole of the camp of Am Yisrael, the desert, was covered with the mon, with a coat of dew on the top, a coat of dew on the bottom, and it's described in detail. When was that? The 18th. What's the 18th? Lag BaOmer. It's the first year of the wandering of Am Yisrael, and it's even a hint. When Moshe Rabbeinu was given the revelation of the burning bush, and then he was asked to help to lead Am Yisrael out from Egypt. So it's already told that take the people out to Avdun. You're going to serve Hashem on this mountain. In other words, the whole purpose of Yetziat Mitzrayim was to lead to Matan Torah. And there it says, V'ata Avdun with a noon. The indication is going to be 50 days. There were people who knew it was going to be 15 days. So you work it out that the people counted, we counted the days. They say, oh, we know there's going to be Matan Torah. It's before the mitzvah. The mitzvah of Omer only started to fly when Am Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael to commemorate. They bring the Omer, they bring that in the Beit HaMikdash. But counting the Omer in a certain way was already observed. That wasn't a mitzvah. But they observed, they said, oh, we've been told there's going to be a great revelation in 50 days' time. And that's it, that noon, the Ran brings this midrash. And so if you make a reckoning, Lag BaOmer was the day when the mon fell. And the sages say, who really is fulfilling, it's mentioned Tehillim, Lechem Abirim, it's called the bread of the highest noblemen, who are the greatest Famila Chachamim. They are the ones, that's what the mon was given for. The mon was given for those who are able to live on a spiritual level. So, this explains much more deeply. Lag BaOmer didn't start with Shimon. Shimon was the one who represented the continuity of the mon, the idea of what lies behind the mon, that the person should never be concerned about his parnasah. Parnasah takes up, for the vast majority of human beings, also Am Yisrael, takes up a lot of time, a lot of energy. Because we're not that time, we're not madrig about Adam before the Chet, when he didn't have to have food through toil and trouble. When the level, it's just more toil and trouble, especially the whole nation, to go and make sure that we can survive. We've got to do shtaddles. But the lessons from the mon, those who take them to the highest level, is like Moshe Rabbeinu, who was able to go and be 40 nights times 3 without food and drink, even without sleep. And also Shimon Yochai was able to survive in the end for 13 years without proper food and drink, without association even with society. That's a high level. But it shouldn't be taken the high level. We learn from Rabbi Akiva. He was on the highest level. And his inner self was always connected with Hashem. He was in the Pardes. He's the only one who went in peace and came out in peace. And the Shimon Yochai went in peace. And if you would not have gone through all these troubles and being isolated, maybe he wouldn't have come out in peace either. Maybe because we see Hashem did not like him looking at people in a negative fashion, which produced their death. Then he said, you come to destroy my world, because the world of Hashem is a world of materialism, which has to be subjected to the spiritual and moral principles of the Torah, even the deepest level. And the deep you are. And the last of the 13 years was as a punishment for him to learn the lesson he should have learned from Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was not like that. He was one who was involved even in all the politics of the nation, to go and save the lives, and not only the spiritual aspect, the material aspect. So this, I think, is very, very deep insight, which is basically hinted up in the Chasam Sofer, but it's not described anywhere in great detail. It also explains the Omer, because the first time the Omer is mentioned is where? So even the Midrash says there's 3 types of Omer. There's Omer, which means a bundle of grain, that's the verbal root, Lima'amer. So there's a Shipolet is called a bundle of grain, that's Omer. Omer is a measure. It's a measure. I see it therefore. It's tenth of an ephah, which is the average amount of food, the average volume of food that a person requires for his daily sustenance. And that's why I own about Omer. But that's the mon. The mon, but it's just a measure. Why the measure? Because the mon teaches us the mon was a seed of ephah. And they had to make a mon for all generations to put next to the Aron HaKodesh. So the idea was people should know, if you and your family have got enough to eat for today, don't go and worry your head about tomorrow. You've got enough for today. And Hashem makes sure for every human being, he'll get enough for today. That's a deep lesson to learn. And therefore the measurement is enough. You don't need more than's good for your body. You don't need less. And it was measured for, it wasn't actually the same. It was the same volume and measure, but which was needed for the family. When the volumes of the mon were collected, let's say if there's much more, and what some person had much more, some person had much less. It was dependent also on the people in the family, who they were, and how they for each household, the way it's described in detail with the psukim, the Parashat Kushala, there was enough for everyone in the household to have what they needed. If there were just children, they needed less. If there were older children, older members of the family needed more. It's also the daily offering brought for the daily korbanot in the Beit HaMikdash. And then there's the Omer HaTanufa, the Omer of the swinging. That's the what's the Omer of the swinging? That's the Omer which we count for the specific Omer which was brought on the 16th of Nisan. And why is it called Omer HaTanufa? Because that's to swing ourselves up. That was a barley offering. By the morn, it was a spiritual type of food, a food that brought such strength that you had enough for the day, and also on Erev Shabbos there was a double portion, which was intended for the next day. The other days, it's only for that day. So it all has the basic teachings that Shabbos is also the makor of the brach for the week, so it had a spiritual significance. And when it came to the first day of counting the Omer, the 16th of Nisan, it's called the Omer of the swinging. It was barley. So why is it called an Omer? It should be called the offering of Seorah. It should have a name, Korban Seorah. And that's the difference on Shavuos. It becomes a korban of wheat. The Shavuos offering to the community. So why in Pesach is it barley? And when it comes to Shavuos, it's transformed to wheat, because barley is animal fodder. And then you are the animals. You've got to swing your animal nature to reach the highest level. That's the tenufa. Your life has got to be a swinging upwards. You've got to keep on growing to a high level, day after day. So you've got to swing. That's the concept of constantly growing. That's three different concepts. Where's the roots? With the mon. It's the same word. So that you can understand, now you understand life much better, because that's when the mon fell. And that's when the animal nature, which, let's say Rabbi Akiva himself, when he didn't know any Torah, it was like, he had very good inner midways, but in practice, he was a person living on the animal level. Yeah, he was a farmer, with sheep. But he said, when I was in Amores, he said, I wanted to kill all these learning people. They were terrible people. Because they're just learning, and we have to do the work. I'm a worker. I only know about work. Because there's ignorance. So he was in the matzah, really, of Matzah Behemah. But then he worked very hard, primarily because of his separation from his wife. So you see the whole story, the first 40 years. So, but then when he changed, because he saw inside, he had a good. You could be on the level of an animal, but you can transform your animal self to become almost an angelic self. That's Oimer. And that's why Lag BaOmer is so important to understand the potential of every Jew is to live on the spiritual level. But you shouldn't overdo. In fact, this was the problem. Ben Zoyim and Ben Azai. Ben Zoyim, earlier generation, and generation when Rabbi Akiva was learning, so he also went into the Badas, and he was able to come out in peace, mainly because he was not from birth. He was a BT. He was able to. He knew what it meant, the animal self. But Ben Zoyim and Ben Azai, they were on the Madrega, they had learned Torah since they were children. And therefore, they didn't realize, that a person can learn a lot of Torah, and he doesn't get that feeling. He's got to keep on swinging upwards, because he doesn't think he's really an animal. But he's still a person can be learning Torah, and there's some of it. He learns Torah externally, and this is the hazard. That's the difference. If you look carefully, let's take more saintly people who are great in learning. And they concentrate on learning, not so frequently not interested in learning Musa, because the Musa is a waste of time. That's one thing. Men you've got in the Shas Bavli and Shas Yerushalmi, and even the Agadot they skip. They learn Torah from even going deep into the difficult sugyas, extending your mind, stretching it to its maximum. That's what you've got to do. So when you come to learning of a Masechta, only learn those passages that deal with halacha. The Agadot, in case you won't understand properly. Don't study the Agadot. There's some people, and they're quite good people, but they don't recognize you've got to develop the Tzelem and the Midos. They neglect the Midos. That's why that's introduced Chasidus. That's what the Midos, when you have Midos, you've got to have Regesh and Tefillah. You've got to work on that. You don't think you're on the Madrega, which was Shimon ben Yochai, who was potter really from Tefillah. Why? But his Torah included all the Agodas, included the Musa and everything on a high level. So that's what we have today also. Between the saintly Bali Tshuva can sometimes get far higher in a short time than those who are FBs. And that's we learn from Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva went to become Shimon was his disciple, and he accepted in principle, but he had to go through. Hashem had to send him suffering in order to get on that Madrega. He gave the 13th year, is described in this Gemara as the punishment of Gehinnom. They got a Gehinnom much. So, but this is a very deep matter. So connected with this. Why? It's great to answer this question. For Moshe Rabbeinu and all the greatest, it's a Tanis. Yeah? For Aaron HaKohen, it's a Tanis. For Shimon Yochai, it's the Hilula. Why is that? So even Halacha is called Simtov Kepeh. V'lama b'tichas Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, they can have it all they need. Why? For the death of Shimon Yochai, they made a Yom Tov. So he answers, Ma she'kavu tanis b'yom misa tzadikim dafka, but tzadikim she'mishorish Torah she'ketav. He makes another distinction. I mean, I made a pshat here, which is not his pshat, but I think the Chasam Sofer would have gone according to the pshat I was given. But you could add to this great deep addition. Moshe Rabbeinu, he represents Torah Shebechsav. In other words, of course he was also the main teacher of Torah Shebal Peh. But when it came to Vaydaber Hashem and Moshe Lemor, so he was the recipient directly of the words of Hashem Vaydaber. And Leimoya was the Torah Shebal Peh, which he passed on to Aaron, and to Shimon Zakenim, and then they taught one another, and they taught Klal Yisrael. So the this is emphasized in the Sifri, in the Zohar and Sifri Kabbalah. Moshe represents Netzach, and Aaron represents Hod. This is reflect what the Gemara says in Midrashim. Moshe's middle was Yikrev Hadin Esohor. Let the din uproot the mountain. But Aaron had a different approach. He was Ohev Shalom, Vodef Shalom. He was the one who constantly pursued peace. In other words, it also says, Sifse Koy Yishmu Das, V'Toyle Vakshi Review, Ki Malach Hashem Tzvukhoitzu. And Aaron, middle of heart, means to spread the majesty, and we could even say the high level of inner inspiration in life, in the midrash of Aaron HaKohen, who wants to try to bring bring a lot of peace. Moshe Rabbeinu said, by Daber, if there's something said by Hashem, you don't, whatever midrash you have, you just got to fulfill it. That's by Daber. Okay, so we'll carry on with this next year. So those, it's good if you want to follow it, you take one of these pages. It will help to understand this. It's a short piece, but it's very deep.